Welcome back, YouTube. My name is Nigel MrSchroeter, and I want to thank you all for watching, tuning in, and being a part of the family. All right, so today what we're going to be talking about is if you were to open up a Navy Federal account, and say you opened up that Navy Federal account and you weren't necessarily so honest when you opened up the account, what do you do now that Navy Federal is starting to flag and close accounts? All right, so say you went and you opened up a Navy Federal account, and when you opened your Navy Federal account, Navy Federal offers you to obtain membership in a few different ways. You can be a direct family member of military personnel, meaning that you are either the parent, sibling, or child of a military personnel. You can also be a grandchild or have a grandparent of a military personnel join. Now, on top of that, of course, you can be a Department of Defense worker, as well as you can be a roommate to a member. Even though I don't know how much longer they're going to be allowing people to join as roommates, because there are so many scammers that have been allowing people to join into Navy Federal, which are causing issues for the members of the credit union, for those of us who hold accounts with the credit union, that I don't know how much longer they're really going to allow it. For myself personally, both of my grandfathers were in the U.S. Army. I have both of their DD-214s. I have all of that documentation to prove that I came from a military family and a military background. So for me, my account was actually open legitimately, but you have a lot of people who came on and, they saw all the high limit credit cards and the things that Navy Federal were giving out and giving to their members. And they saw the benefits with the mobile check deposits and checks clearing immediately and all these different things that we as Navy Federal members were able to get, and are slowly but surely losing these freedoms due to people who have opened up accounts fraudulently. Now, everyone who opened up an account fraudulently, of course, isn't a scammer in that sense. Of course, it is a fraudulent account, so therefore it is, legally considered scamming. But we're saying as far as people trying to take advantage, and of course, everyone who legitimately opened up an account also isn't not a scammer, essentially. So with that being said, what can you do now that you have the account? First thing is have the appropriate documentation to match how you join. So if you say you're a military spouse, then of course you need to have some type of marriage certificate or something like that to prove that. If you were a roommate, have a lease or some type of documentation, a bill, something that showed that you lived in that property during that period of time. If you were listed as a family member, birth certificates or some type of documentation to show that you and that person are actually related the way that you put on the application. I know I've seen people, and I've talked to countless people about this, where you may have a cousin that wants to get in the Navy Federal, but maybe you all don't talk to their parent, and there may be a family situation or something like that. And those situations can be hard to go to your family member and say, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't let you use my access code. But you have to realize that, of course, your account, if you sold these fraudulent accounts, or even if you just tried to help a family member, it puts your account at risk just as well for opening up these accounts. Whereas with with opening up the account, the person opening the account, they're not really at risk for anything because they weren't going to be eligible to join anyway. So A lot of the times we can just say, "Oh, I'm helping a friend out," or "Oh, I'm helping a family member out," but you have to do it in the appropriate manner. So if you were legitimate, have the parent that's a sibling to their parent join, have your parent sibling, your aunt or uncle join, then have that cousin join. Do not do anything that would put you in a situation where you could lose your account and they would lose their account at the end of the day. Now, how can we counter these things? Of course, number one, have the appropriate documentation. Like we just said, have the appropriate documentation. If you have the appropriate documentation, when Navy Federal comes to you and they say, "Hey, we need something to show that this is your sibling," you can show that. If they need, "Hey, we need a lease or this or that, a utility bill to show that this person lived with you," be able to show that. If they need a DD 214 or some type of documentation to show that you were employed by the Department of Defense, or that family member that you joined off of was employed by the Department of Defense, have that paperwork to show. The next thing, if you already have the account and now you're starting to get scared with the shutdowns, what should you do? Well, thing number one is make sure that you have no negative activity on the account that would flag you for a shutdown. If you have negative activity on the account, you're more likely to get flagged, because they're of course going to look more into people who have negative activity, negative trends, bad checks, things like that, than they are going to look into people who don't. The next thing, of course, is do not put a large amount of funds in the account. I've had this phone call already, and I hate to kind of laugh at it, but why would you put $10,000 or $20,000 in an account that you opened fraudulently? The government can freeze that money. They can seize that money. There's so many things that can be done with that money, and you just have it sitting there in the account that you opened fraudulently. It's never a good idea if you fraudulently open an account to have money sitting in that account. That's going to cost you a lot more in the long run. The next thing, of course, is do not spend large sums of money off of your Navy Federal cards. What happens is, when you open an account fraudulently and it gets caught, they freeze all your accounts. Then they're going to request back any money that you owe out to the institution. So say you owe them $10,000. That $10,000 becomes due immediately to the bank. If you don't have the $10,000 to pay them back immediately, then you're going to start to get negative and derogatory marks on your credit, as well as the larger the amount, the more likely the bank or the credit union is to pursue you for legal action. So you definitely don't want to be sued and have wages garnished and, potentially go through litigation over a fraudulent account and owing out a financial institution a large sum of money. And last but not least, please ensure that you have other banking relationships. If you knew that your account was opened fraudulently, for your sake, please have a relationship with another institution. I like to tell everyone to just be honest, go back, close out the account, move to another institution. But once again, if you're honest from the beginning, you don't even have this problem and you're not in this situation to even be having to watch this video. But it's extremely important that you have relationships with other banks, even if your account was opened legitimately. Because if you don't have a relationship with another bank, it makes it a lot harder when your cards are closed down or your accounts are closed down and you need to get money from somewhere else, or you need to do some business or anything that you may have going on is going to become a lot harder. So as always, thank you guys for watching the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Get these videos out to other people that you know who may benefit from them. And as always, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.